Welcome to the Tinley Chamber Spotlight Show. I'm your host for today, Garrett Gray. And if the rainy weather, falling leaves, and pumpkins haven't clued you in yet, October is finally here. And for today's October show, we have 4 guests who are members of the Tinley Chamber of Commerce, and they're here today to talk about how their businesses can help you. But before I get to our first guest, I want to give you a heads up not to adjust your TV sets, and that's because our first guest is typically sitting in this very chair as she is the host for the Tinley Chamber Spotlight Show. But today we're lucky enough to have her as our guest, as her role of mortgage banker for First Midwest Bank. Please welcome to the show, Maureen Cipolla. Welcome to the show, Maureen.
Oh, Garrett, thanks for having me, and this is so surreal. Now
Yeah.
I'm on this side of the fence here, but really excited to be sitting in this chair tonight.
Well, we're glad to have you as a guest. It's a new adventure for you. But let's begin with you telling us a little bit about your background.
Okay, super. Well, I'm a resident of Tinley Park, for starters, 20 years now, my husband and I, and we're really excited to be part of this great village. And from a background standpoint, very passionate about what I do. Started my career in sales and in account management and entered into the mortgage and residential lending arena in 2001.
Wow.
And what really migrated or helped me find myself in that role was giving back to others and helping people. And without having my own transaction, buying my home with my husband here in Tinley Park was a little bit of an eye-opener and a very exciting, because it's ultimately the biggest purchase that someone's going to make in their lifetime.
Absolutely. So now tell us a little bit about your role with First Midwest Bank.
Okay. Well, as a mortgage banker, I handle residential loans, which really consists, Garrett, of 1 to 4 units in size as far as the type of structures. I'm able to assist first-time home buyers, whether it's we offer VA financing, FHA financing, and conventional financing.
What is VA financing
So,
for those who
yeah,
don't
that's
know
an
the
excellent
terms?
question. So we handle, so for a veteran, for instance,
yeah,
whether it's
okay.
active military or someone that is retired, it's basically a no mortgage insurance government loan.
Wow.
Federally, FHA, a federally Federal Housing Administration loan, and then your traditional conventional loans. Additionally, and not to get too much jargon going here, but we do offer jumbo financing, and we have different types of financing. But going back to my role here in the organization, I meet with clients on a daily basis, and I also network with realtors, attorneys, and I'm really putting myself out there networking in the community to help people achieve their home ownership dreams. So, you know, it's not a very complex situation,
Right.
but when someone sits down and wants to start the process and is green to it, there's a little bit of prep work, if you will.
Absolutely.
And that type of prep work, you know, can be sitting down and looking at 3 years of income tax returns, most recent pay stubs, and really going in and zeroing in on the budget of the person.
Yeah. And how does it make you feel when you're able to get a client their dream house, close on that deal, and you hand them those keys, or somebody hands them the
Yes.
keys?
Yes.
How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel really good.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, you know, as many times as I do it, been doing it so long, you know, every closing is special for me. To just look at that individual's, you know, face when that transaction is complete,
Oh, yeah.
and they're taking the keys and moving on to the next chapter of their life. So
Yeah.
it's exciting. It's thrilling.
Good deal. And that is like one of the, if not the biggest purchase you'll make in your life. So tell me a little bit about First Midwest Bank. They're so well established in the community. How long have they been around?
Well, First Midwest Bank technically was chartered in 1983, but there were 3 individuals that have been in the banking in the early 30s and 40s that kind of got them started, if you will. We have 125 locations
Holy cow.
sprawled across Illinois, Indiana, a little bit in Wisconsin and the Quad Cities, and we also lend in 9 states. So whether someone, for instance, is here buying their first home in Illinois, or if they're making maybe a second home purchase, we can help them in Florida. I call them the vacation
Wow.
states. So we are assisting our clientele here, but also afar.
That's awesome. So you can go local to buy somewhere in Florida.
That's right.
Oh, that's really excellent and very convenient.
Well, it is, because if their banking is here and we have that relationship, it really gives them a sense of comfort
And trust.
and trust.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
said it properly.
Now, is there any other programs that that your bank offers that some other banks don't offer?
Sure. Well, and there are. In fact, Garrett, when we talk about maybe a first-time home buyer, there are all sorts of down payment assistance programs out there, grants, okay? And not all lending institutions participate in those grants. One that comes to mind in particular, one of many that we offer at First Midwest Bank, is through the Illinois Housing Development Authority, and it's a $7,500 grant for first-time home buyers. It's called First Home Illinois, and it's a very, I would say, easy to obtain the grant. There are some application requirements, but I help, as the residential banker, help facilitate that application with my clients. And to give you an example, generous, for instance, an income bracket. So if an individual, a one-person household, earns up to $79,000 in gross wages, they can qualify for the $7,500 in down payment.
And that's a great relief.
It is, and it can help someone perhaps get to the finish line just a little bit sooner.
Yeah, just a little nudge over there. And I agree, that's a really good program to have. It just helps people realize their dreams. Now, what differentiates Midwest Bank from some of the other banks?
Well, you know, I have to say, sitting in my role, it's certainly the relationships. We have the big bank services and amenities, but the community feeling, and that we are very, very involved in the community. We give back to the community in several different capacities, but it's that relationship, Garrett. I have to tell you that, you know, people do business with others that they can trust, and
absolutely.
that they feel, you know, again, these are long-time relationships that our clients have with us.
Wow, great. And speaking of buying houses, sometimes you have a house for 25 years and they're a longtime client, but they come back to refinance.
That's right.
Is the rates good enough nowadays? Is it a good time to refinance?
I have to say yes, and yes, it's always a good time to do a mortgage checkup.
Oh, yeah.
And I will give you an example. When my husband and I bought about 20 years ago, rates were at 7.625. That was the best rate in town. And when we look at what the market closed at and what it's been trending at on a 30-year fixed rate, and again, this is an example with good credit. It's certainly not a quote here on the show, but they're in the thri's. You know, so that can tell you
in half.
Exactly,
more than half.
Exactly. And perhaps somebody may be paying private mortgage insurance, or perhaps looking at a shorter term. It's always a good idea to do a mortgage rate checkup. So if someone bought 5 years ago, they're in a 30-year fixed rate mortgage, income has changed a little bit, and they're doing a little bit more, maybe I can look at a 15-year fixed rate mortgage and shave some time off of that and also save them some interest.
Excellent. Now, our time's fleeting here. Do you have a message you want to say to our viewers?
Oh, I sure do. Well, we welcome all to visit us at First Midwest Bank. We truly love giving back to the community. We have several different programs that we do offer, and I just want to note here that we are honoring our heroes. So police, veterans, firefighters, teachers, first responders, there's a $500 discount out there as well. So we welcome you to the bank. Thank you.
Well, for more information on First Midwest Bank, you can call the Chamber at 708-532-5700 or go online to tinleychamber.org. Maureen, it was a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thanks, Garrett.
My next guest consists of the owner of the law offices of Thomas M. Britt, P.C., Mr. Thomas Britt, and his legal assistant, Christina Ryder. Welcome to the show, Tom, Christina.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for being here. Now, Tom, tell me a little bit about your law office. How long have you been practicing law, and how long have you been in Tinley Park?
Well, Garrett, I've been in Tinley Park as well as practicing law since 1989. So for 28 years, I've been in different areas of Tinley Park, and but have always been bound to Tinley Park, and I really, really like it here.
That's good. If you've been here that long, it's a testament to liking the community. So now, tell me a little bit more about your firm. What type of law do you practice?
Well, we are a general practice firm with real estate, estate planning. We also do financial planning and also help people out that are in economic trouble, such as bankruptcy. We also do family law cases, anywhere from adoptions to divorces to paternity cases, and so a very wide variety of areas of law.
Excellent. Now, who's your typical client for those areas?
Are going to be roughly the middle class people who run into certain situations, such as when they need to buy a home or need an attorney to review a real estate contract, and when they have financial issues, such as being sued. Who should they turn to when a person comes out and gives them a paper and they don't know what to do with it? Is they should contact an attorney, and we can explain what your rights are and what your options are.
Excellent. Now, you mentioned real estate, and we just had Maureen on the show talking about making people's dreams come true with buying their dream house. So why should somebody contact a lawyer when buying a house?
Well, a lot of the real estate contract laws have changed along with the mortgage laws, is that you have to have typically in the contract the real estate contract reviewed within 5 days, 5 business days, by an attorney, and sometimes you see an attorney will see something unusual and say, why is this in here? And if it's beyond the 5 days, a lot of times you can't change it any longer. Also, now in the real estate contract, and why legal assistants are very helpful, is to remind you when the time is for a person to get the financing, meaning talk to Maureen, get everything together to get approved for the financing, because it's always set for a certain amount of days, typically anywhere from within 30 days to 60 days. And so it's very important to have everything lined up so you can get to the closing.
Right. And so if you, like you mentioned, that the 5 days, if you don't speak in those 5 days, that's set in cement. And can you lose your earnest money if there's something is a deal breaker in that time?
You could. There's possibilities, or basically, if you cannot make a change afterwards, you're stuck with it. And so then you're like, well, why shouldn't I didn't mean to do this way. I had someone who put down a large amount of earnest money, and that was my first question: why did you do it this way? Yeah. And eventually, that deal fell through, and she got her earnest money back, and she felt fine with that. And so it's very important, to get an attorney as soon as you sign that contract, because the clock starts ticking.
Yeah, and Christina, it sounded like you're a big part of making sure that schedule is adhered to make sure that you're the go-between with the bank and also Tom himself to make sure it works out.
One of the parts of my job is being a receptionist, so usually I do talk to the client first, give them our email, our fax, whatever method of getting the contract to us as fast as possible. And also just trying to make them feel comfortable so they want to work with us.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, that is a big purchase, and it's very intimidating to read all that fine print. I just remember having the X and the lawyer said sign here, so it was very good money spent to hire a lawyer to help
Definitely.
make that process go a lot easier. Now, Tom, tell me a little bit about estate planning. And I know there's more talk about these days than when I was growing up. Why contact you guys?
Well, you want to know what you want to do with everything you've acquired during your life, and be it a home, be it bank accounts, be it your World War II collection, is you want to be able to say, okay, if I pass, I want to have it go to a certain individual. But there are certain situations where you need more advanced planning, such as living trust and items similar to that. And so again, it's good to contact an attorney, and we have it set up where you come in with an idea as to what you want done with your estate. And Christina helps out a lot with that.
And
Yeah.
that's probably a venue where you guys see a lot of the same families, right? As the generations get old, they pass it down to their kids.
Right.
And so I'm sure they contact you to kind of keep the same services because of that trust built up
Definitely.
since 1989.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
even a majority of the clients that we do the wills for, their kids come back for the probate, which
Awesome.
is something also that, is important.
Excellent, excellent. Well, it sounds like you guys are trusted. Now, let's talk about something that probably was very topical kind of during the recession is bankruptcy. Now, why hire a lawyer to deal with the bankruptcy proceedings?
Well, again, you don't always want to file for bankruptcy, but there are certain situations where you have no choice in the matter, such as you lose a job, you don't have the health benefits, and sometimes the family law, you have a divorce, you have now one income instead of two incomes. And so the situation presents itself, and you're trying to keep your head above water by paying credit cards that you just don't have the money to pay, and you need a fresh start. And that's what a bankruptcy does, and it relieves a lot of stress. And so it would help, people in that situation.
Have you ever had a bankruptcy turn into something good?
Yes, we had we filed the bankruptcy for an individual. It went fine. A year later, she bought a scratch-off ticket and won $1 million. And then we did her estate planning for her.
Wow, well, if I win the Mega Millions, I'll go to you guys
Okay.
for sure. Now, we just have a few seconds here. Could you tell the audience why they should go to your law offices?
Is that you deal with us. We're not a big law office, but you can talk to us. We are person to person. I emphasize making appointments and meeting with the staff and with myself, and we can get your situation resolved.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you for your time, Tom.
Thank you.
And Christina, thanks for being on the show, and continued success.
Okay, thank you very much, Garrett.
Thanks.
My last guest is the owner of the Academy of Creative Movement Yoga Studio. Please welcome to the program, Ms. Donna Furmanek. Welcome to the show, Donna.
Thank you, Garrett.
So tell me a little bit about yoga and what it is.
Yoga is really an ancient practice. It's a 5,000-year-old practice. At least that's what I've been telling people now that I've been teaching for about 20 years. It's got to be at least 5,020 years old. It is a practice that leads us towards greater health and well-being. That is the bottom line of yoga. And the way yoga does that is by training the body. We like to call it skill in action, working with the breath so that we reduce stress and we can focus our attention inward, and that our life becomes, in a way, less of a struggle, that we could think and move with more ease in our lives.
Excellent. And a lot of my friends tell me, Garrett, you're so stressed out and high strung, yoga is for you. And so I'm going to have to check your facility out for sure. Now, when did you get involved with yoga and why?
I became involved in yoga rather by accident, somewhere in the mid-'80s on a television program offered by Priscilla Patrick on Channel 11 twice a week. And she was on from 10 to 10:30 on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I took an interest and found that I felt more relaxed after I took the classes and more focused. And I continued practicing until I started to look in libraries, and finally led me towards more serious study, which was later becoming certified in teaching yoga.
Excellent. And I know you run the Academy of Creative Movement Yoga Studio. Now, how long has that been around, and what are the types of clients you service?
The studio, the Academy of Creative Movement, has actually been around for about 20 years, and it's in Tinley Park, in Orland Park, and it is now running in a different location. Your second question was?
Your type of clients.
Oh, the type of clients. My clients range from early childhood age, ages 3, up to age 90 or more. So I can service all different types of clients, ages, and conditions. People who come to me come to feel better no matter what age they are at. They come when they want to feel more, let's say they have limited mobility. Students who come to me want to be able to move more freely in their joints. Maybe they've had an injury. People want to reduce their stress, or maybe sometimes it's even they are under a doctor's care, and sometimes I service students who are needing much more support but still want to regain their mobility and feel better.
Now, what about some of those clients that say, well, I'm not very mobile, or I know in my case I'm not very flexible. What do you say to those people that already poo-poo the notion of yoga?
Well, something that I learned is that yoga is more about mobility than it is about flexibility. So we work with all the different joints. If we think of the ankles, the knees, the hips, the elbows, the shoulders, all of those areas needing range of motion. So first we have to learn to stabilize those areas and then allow the person to move safely in their joints so they don't harm their joints. So it's really more about being more mobile, and also muscularly. A lot of us have tight muscles. I would consider myself a tight-bodied person. However, learning yoga can help us become more aware of which muscles are we holding chronically, and which muscles need to work, which muscles do we need to let go of. Actually, flexibility can sometimes be a deterrent. If we're too flexible, we can get injured. So we really want to work on stabilizing more than first, and then increasing mobility in the joints.
Wow. And that sounds like you mentioned, it's all a range of ages, from 3 to 90 you mentioned. I mean, that can help everybody. And I see you have some of the mats here. This is a purple yoga mat and a blanket here. Now, what about for some of your clients that can't get on the mat? You mentioned that you had some clients that may have physical limitations. Where would they do yoga?
For students who have limited mobility, we have chairs, and so they don't have to get up or down from the floor. They can stay right in the chair and do their practice. So the different props that we have, so to speak, are used when they're needed to help a student be more, for example, lifted up in their spine. They might use a blanket and sit up a little bit higher so that they're not slumping down, but lifting up higher. The mat is used for a space, just so you have your own space, so that you'll want to practice when you go home, and you could take your mat home with you. So yeah, someone with limited mobility can do the same actions that others are doing, but they're modified and they can get the same benefit, because we're really not just working on the muscles and the joints, but also we're encouraging and increasing their ability to breathe better. And the breathing itself will help make your lungs more flexible and make more space for breathing. And so that breathing doesn't become so laborious, that you, again, it's a sense of ease instead of struggle, and a skill that we can develop over time.
Excellent. And I can see too, one of the benefits is posture. You have like perfect posture, if you don't mind me saying, Donna.
Well, I appreciate that, Garrett, and I thought I used to have perfect posture before I started yoga, because I had a dance background, and but the doctor said, no, you have terrible posture. And I said, really? But he was right, because I had backaches all the time and neck and shoulder conditions that yoga helped me with, a lot of my chronic neck and shoulder conditions and my back conditions, and even and so I'm grateful for the practice, because it helps me sustain my strength and mobility, and because if I keep practicing, and if people do practice, the posture will help them feel better in their bodies.
Absolutely, yeah. Now tell me about the academy. How often do you guys offer classes? How, per week, and then also what type of classes do you offer?
Well, currently there are evening classes, and there are some weekend classes in the mornings, and some being offered in the afternoons. There will be a couple of weekday morning classes as well coming up. The classes are there are some general classes, general group classes, and there are classes for yoga for ailments, which are more gentle, people who want to move at a slower pace for various reasons, different conditions under a doctor's care, or just are maybe a little bit older, perhaps. Maybe they haven't been physical for a while, and they want to get moving. So I have classes that I do offer once in a while for children. I think that's really important for them to also be involved in taking care of their bodies and their movement.
Well, we're almost out of time, Donna. Do you have something you want to say to the viewers out there about your studio?
I would just like to say that yoga can be done by everyone. All you really need to be able to do to practice yoga is if you can stand or sit or lay down, you can practice yoga. And all you need to do is get started, and you'll feel better, I guarantee it.
Well, thank you for being on our show, Donna. And for all the viewers, please contact the Tinley Chamber at 708-532-5700 to find out about all of our guests. And thank you for watching. We'll see you next month.